Hello, welcome to the Surge 2. From my dozens of hours I've spent amputating my way around Jericho City, I have compiled some useful tips that I think will help with your overall survivability. I will be demonstrating how to get even more out of the already complex combat system, improving your healing, showing off what I would consider to be the most important item you will get in the entire game, and a few other things that I really wished I knew from the start. Many of the dash attacks in the game can actually be extended or tweaked in various ways by continuing to hold down the attack button while active. This not only lengthens the distance of these animations, but also allows you to pre-prime your dash attacks while sprinting, which greatly reduces the initial startup lag that some have, at the cost of draining stamina. This tactic can sometimes get you into trouble if done accidentally, because lengthening your attack animation could make you take unnecessary damage, when a shorter tap of the attack button would have yielded a shorter range but faster dash attack, which is something to consider. This still allows for a bit more flexibility when rushing down your enemies from a distance, and can turn what otherwise would be a slow and unruly dash attack into a decent combo starter. Have you noticed that your injectable implants, like the one you use for healing, have a stat listed as max pre-charges, but you're not sure what that means? Well, a pre-charge can be done at any time by holding down your inject button with at least one battery charged, which allows you to preemptively stock up a charge of any injectable without using it outright. Whenever you see or hear your batteries starting to run out, you might as well use them to load up some pre-charges for any of your equipped injectables. This also puts a larger emphasis on gathering those battery power-ups that are laying about, even when your batteries are already topped off, because you can often max out your pre-charges with use of these. You can now go into battle with numerous healing charges loaded up, or have a useful buff ready to go prior to initiating combat. Have you managed to notice that your dodge attacks actually differ according to which direction you dodge in reference to the enemy you're locked onto? This little nuance could fundamentally change your preferred dodging direction according to what weapon you're wielding. This is only noticeable when you're locked onto something, where dodging to the left or right side while attacking have entirely different animations, along with your forward and backwards attacks as well. Although some enemy attack patterns will dictate which direction you should dodge, in certain situations where it's left up to you, you might actually prefer a left or right attack, according to your weapon's reach, startup, and ending lag of all of these directionally influenced variations. Not only does this give you even more options during combat, but is also just a cool attention to detail where the right-handed bias of your character actually alters their swings, just like how it would in real life if you could actually lift these ridiculous weapons. In the Surge 2, you will find all kinds of useful tools to assist in your travels, but if you have already taken down the first major boss, you will now have the most important item in the entire game. Introducing the EMP-44 Starfish Drone Module. This is much more than just a door-opening device, because I found its utility in combat to be a fundamental game changer. This does not function on a limited ammo resource like the rest of your drone modules, and when shot at enemies will actually attach onto them. You now have two options at this point. You can wait for it to automatically detonate, which briefly stuns most enemies, or you can simply press the button again to detonate it yourself. This mini stun that it does can be used to buy you a little extra time to extend your combos, or can be strategically detonated at the last second to cancel oncoming enemy attacks, which again can also lengthen combos. With only a 10-second recharge and no resources required, the EMP-44 Starfish was my go-to drone module that works just as well early game as it does late game. Seriously, this added a whole new dynamic to combat and I highly recommend using it. Did you know that many weapon attacks, mostly your vertical strikes, actually change according to which area of the body you're targeting? Locking onto the head or arms dictates entirely different combos as compared to selecting the chest or legs. This can also alter the overall utility of your charge attacks that can greatly differ according to which part you're focusing. Some weapons gain more from this than others, but I found this feature to fundamentally change how I use some weapon classes. Of course, if you're trying to sever a certain body part, you'll be targeting that specific section anyways. For general combat encounters where you're just trying to stay alive, make sure you're aware of which attack is going to play out by knowing your weapon's complete moveset and keeping track of where you're aiming. I'm sure you'll be up to your knees in engrossing audio logs that you'll find hidden all throughout the environment, but these are far more than just optional lore items. If you visit Mr. Scrappy at the top floor of Seaside Court, you can turn in these collectibles for a huge tech scrap payout. This further incentivizes you to thoroughly look in every nook and cranny of each area, and sure, you get some more story stuff, but come on, extra tech scrap is always welcome. Many weapons have infinite combos that can be used repeatedly until your stamina is completely drained, which is even more useful when combined with the previously mentioned Starfish Drone. A good starting point is to try the R2 R1 R1 combo with your weapon to see if that leads to an infinite, but this does vary from weapon to weapon, so just try messing around with alternating cross combos. If you're running a high stamina focused build, these can be devastating if timed correctly. When you die in the Surge 2 with valuable tech scrap on you, you leave behind all of this accumulated resource that you did not bank into your medbay. This requires you to retrace your steps so you can try to gain back that lost tech scrap, and it will probably be your natural inclination to grab it immediately, but wait, picking this up is also a full free heal for your character. You can use this to your advantage by turning your previous death into a helpful little gift for your future self. The timer in the top left corner of the screen will show you how long you have left to pick it up before it vanishes, so just don't wait too long or you risk losing your tech scrap and that free healing. You might also want to consider going into boss fights with at least one tech scrap on you by banking the majority of it, or by simply taking out one enemy along the way just to be able to utilize this healing mechanic for the fight. Or you could simply not ever die, and that works just as well. And those are the most important tips that I really wanted to highlight that were not already covered in my Weapons and Combat Explained videos, which I'll have a link to at the end of this video that also has some general gameplay tips in them. The weapons video breaks down all 9 of the weapon classes as well as some combos for each, while the general combat video functions more like an overall tutorial for the game if you're interested. I am hoping that 1 or 2 of these prevent at least one of your deaths along your travels, and let me know if you found these to be helpful. If you happen to enjoy my style of informative gaming content, consider subscribing to the channel, clicking that little bell icon if you already are, and you can also find me on Twitter at BoomstickAlex. Lastly, a special mention to these top YouTube members and patrons who really help a lot with the general upkeep of this individually owned and operated channel. As always, this has been Alex from Boomstick Gaming, and thanks for watching.